So what's the most common mistakes people tend to make on NLP?
Ooh.
If they're by themselves, I'm saying it's not continuously adding weight to the bar, especially as it gets heavier and later into the program. You kind of get satisfied with a number that you have. Maybe your first goal of squatting 225 or deadlifting. Yeah, deadlifting 225. That seems like a normal staple. No, man, push through that. Keep adding weight to the bar. Make it harder on yourself, and you'll be a way better athlete and better lifter in general.
Pursuant with that, I would say people thinking that you can keep the weight low and work on form, whatever that means. Like
That's a very good
because
point.
of the nature of the lift, of lifting heavy in general, is that you cannot work on it at a light weight. Perfecting the squat with an empty bar does basically nothing, essentially nothing, for your 305 squat set. It just doesn't help you. And people really, really don't like to hear that, and they usually, I feel like, have to hear that, experience it, find out it's true, and then come back and say, okay, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon the one thing I found when I started it was just being in a rush to get my numbers up. How do you think there's a lot of people who sort of fall into that trap and they take shortcuts, don't squat to depth or
And then get stuck.
yeah.
Yeah,
and
I
then
mean, it
think
depends
it's
on
part
what.
of for me, I think it's just a big part of like the perfectionism anxiety. I think when we had Elle on, she was like, well, I want to feel like I'm winning at training, where it's just like if I think athletes are surprisingly good about this because they'll have competition seasons where it's like, hey, for some of my grapplers, it's like, all right, we have 6 months of competition season coming up. You have 4 weight cuts within this. You're not going to set a single PR or close to your PR for the next 6 months while you're working on your conditioning and your technique and everything. But you're still going to go in and train, and like having it be like when people are at the end of the LP and being like, well, if I'm not setting 3 squat PRs this week, something's wrong with me. And you're like, no, it's totally fine. We can add a light day. Nothing bad will happen,
That transition really screws people. It's probably the most, I don't want to say dangerous, not like injury stuff, but like it's the most perilous part for mentality for trainees is that transition from LP to not LP.